Hello everybody, it's Big Al with some more content for Lord of the Rings Rise to War. So today I am coming to you from Iron's account. I am going to be adjusting his gear, trying to make some improvements. So let's go into his commanders and look. So as a main formation, he wants to run Frodo as his tank. As you see, he's got all purple gear, the best in slot purple gear with evasion and fortitude. So Frodo can function like this already. He's got Gimli as his main damage dealer. As you can see, he has some of the best in-slot items for him. He's pulling 239 commander attack right now as he is. We have Gandalf the White. As you can see, he's got some purple gear. He's got the blazing tongue on him, which we're going to do some adjusting to him because we're mainly focused on White Council and White Rider for him. And then his second damage dealer is going to be Shadow. And as you can see, he kind of just threw some items together because he wasn't sure completely how to do it and get the most benefit of everything. So, I'm going to start with his Galadriel. As you can see, his Galadriel has, some of his best gear, which is all for focus. That is going to go to Gandalf the Grey. So I'm going to start by putting that gear on Gandalf. One thing that I like to do for my Gandalfs when I make them is I want to have some command on them. That's kind of a gray area where some people think it's more important to have as much focus as possible for the White Council. I also like the command approach because, as you can see, it helps with damage received, damage dealt, and healing granted. Also, with the Gandalf the White only being respect for, he's not going to get too many points into his damage skills because his main skills, White Council and White Rider, are going to be the main skills. They're going to use most of the points. So, let's go to Frodo next. Frodo, I've been looking around and I've looked through all of his gear, what we could do, what we could hammer, everything like that. So, with Frodo, we're pretty much going to be switching things out. We're going to be making gear sets as we can. The one big thing that's going to change is he is going to get this elf hallbuck. As you see, it already gives an extra 14 unit defense and then some extra hit points. We are going to be making a new Drums of Moria for a matching set, and his horseman's helm is going to stay the same. So, let's go to Shadow next. Okay, with Shadow, he's going to get the Blazing Tongue. And it's important that you're putting your best gear on your main formation. That's pretty much what 80% of the focus should be, is your main formation. Because early on game, that's what you're going to be using to take higher tiles. When it's fighting, your A team should be the only team fighting unless you are a whale. Your B team can do a little bit of fighting if you're switch swapping gear and you're very selective on the targets that you choose. So, with that being said, Shadow's going to get the Blazing Tongue. He's going to keep the full helm with the sharp blade. He's also going to get the scale mail. And I am going to make some adjustments to this as well, because we're going to be setting him up not only for now, but for the future. But we want to get the items in place first. So, let's see. We're going to go through and we are going to hammer down things first. Frodo. Nope, Gimli. Okay, I have looked inside the cask of pride. And one thing that do need to work on, Iron, is when you're strengthening things, try to put the same item in. Like on this one, you got all the 3 Easterling helms that you own in this one, so that was good. Same thing with the iron bassinets, but you have them in a couple others, because I've noticed, and a lot of people make this mistake, that they just strengthen with anything and everything. Try to get like items in the same thing. So we are going to be hammering down the cask because we want those 2 cask of pride out so we can refine. We want that call of the forest out so that we can refine. The other item that I am going to be hammering is the fine smoking pipe. And the reason for that is I want to get this other pipe out of here so I can refine. This is a good thing to take note of for later on. If you get more harps, you can get that for Frodo. Things like that. So we have to unequip it so that we can do that. Also, something I don't like to do, but I'm going to do it because these are seasonal elven hammers. We are going to be hammering down this cutlass with evasion so that we can make it thick armor to match the Hallbach. And this one is going to become a drum with, sorry, I had to check my notes, with fortitude. That way we get all the same sets. I also have some optional pieces that me and Iron talked about doing, and we're going to do those as well, but I'm going to do these to start with. So we're going to go into the hammers. Okay, I want to hammer down the fine smoking pipe. And again, I'm just going to be taking that one pipe out and rebuilding it. And a lot of times this is what happens with gear. Cask of Pride, same thing. I am taking a couple items out and I will be replacing them. And then the cutlass with evasion. Because he does not have a cutlass with thick armor on the outside, we have to do this. But again, it's one of the seasonal ones. It's okay. We're making the matching set and improving stats. So we are going to go back into the commanders. We're going to start with Gimli first off. And we have the cask with Warcry. So when you're building sets for damage dealers, you're looking for commander damage and commander attack in the weapon slot and in the accessory slot. Only gold items have the commander damage in the accessory slot. If not, the next best is Bone Talisman. So let's take care of this first. First, I'm going to refine. We're going to refine. And this is another thing. When you're choosing to refine, like here, I'm going to be able to refine twice, because the first 2 levels of refinement only take 1 more. You want to make sure that you are using the set effects that you are most likely not going to use for this item. So like Lord of Arcane, that is for focus damage dealers pretty much. So I'm not going to use that on a damage dealer, so I definitely want to use that to refine. So next, let's go to Gandalf the Grey, and we are going to put his gold pipe back on. We are going to refine it. Remember, we pulled one of the pipes out so that we could refine it an extra time and get a little bit more commander damage. This isn't as important on Gandalf the White as it is, say, like Galadriel, only because Gandalf the White is respect level 4, like we were talking before. My choice would be I would put a Nordor sword here, but we'd only have one Nordor sword, so we can't refine it for command. when I'm building my Gandalf the Gray all the time, and then lower respect Gandalf the Whites, I try to get a Nordor sword here, the call here, and a pipe here. Because I want 2 items giving me command, and then I want 2 items that give me the most focus. Which the Great Plate of the East is the second best for focus amount, and the gold pipe is the first. Here we are just going for, he's going to have more focus than command, but we did get the helm with command. We also pulled one of these out, so let's go ahead and refine that. Okay. Now let's start with Frodo. He needs the thick armor cutlass. I just want to put it on there so it's there. And we'll come back to purple later. So, let's start rebuilding the Cask of Pride. Of course, you're going to want to use the worn item. And then, and like I was saying, we're going to put the like items together, which in this case has already happened. And we're going to get this back up to 4 stars where it was before. Another key note is the bassinet that I just put in there and the Easterling helm are probably the 2 worst helmets, I believe. So those are ones that I would consider throwing into enhancing relics, because I'm never going to want them back. And then I'm going to use... Oh, I have to pull that off of him. I am going to use the Hunter's Guide on him. That one, and put the other Hunter's Guide on him. And I kind of messed up, and I should have done the Hunter's Guide on the level before, because as you see, when I strengthened him, I got 2 more back. But that's okay. That was my mistake, but we'll use them to upgrade other things. Now we're going to rebuild the smoking pipe. And we had the Night Star in there. We had the harp, because that was by itself. We're going to put 2 signets in here, because remember, I'm putting like items first. And what else was it? I gotta pull that off of Sauron. One thing about gear, I know a lot of people, it's a puzzle to them, and it gets very tedious. And we're going to have 1 dragon tooth left, which is fine because we are going to use that later on. So, we built Gimli back up. He got an extra refine. We built up Gandalf the White again, and he's got an extra refine on the call and an extra refine on the pipe. Let's go to Frodo now. I'm going to rebuild Frodo. So we are going to refine. And again, I am going to use the bad set effects first, or the ones that I know that I'm not going to use. Another thing when you're doing purple, a lot of times, I will show you with this next part, I will go through and I will look for doubles. So right here I got 2 perseverance and 2 agility, so let me use those. That way, just in case later on if I want to make that set, and that's me. I'm going to use the siege, and I'm going to pull the siege off of Aramore. Because as far as siege goes, and I'm going to make sure I can switch it first. Siege goes, use blue and green for siege ladder, and keep your purples so you can use them to refine, especially since he has a lot of them going on. Swap. Okay. Back up to Frodo. Refine. I don't think I will. I'm making it thick, so I won't need the thick. Oh, one more. Let's go with evasive. Nope, let's go with divide and conquer. Now we're going to go back to the drums. And one thing I am going to do is I am going to use this drum to refine it. As you see, I'm going to get a bunch of equipment back. I'm going to get drums and I'm going to get worn out accessories. And this is how I am going to be able to rebuild it. Oh, I got a few of those. And we got enough drums, so I'm not going to go take it off of Dane. Now, I don't remember if all these were 4 stars or 5 stars. But we are going to rebuild. A couple of the other tricks that I like to do when I am doing people's gear is I am thinking of the future. I'm trying to get him the best of what I can get him at this moment, but also leave room to grow. And I will show you in a minute what I mean by that. And I love the fact that he's using Frodo. One of the great things about Frodo is he can still function well with just purple gear. I'm going to use the Mirkwood bows because I generally do not use those. And then let's see. I'm going to use the Elven Dirks next. Okay, now we are back full up on Frodo. Now we are going to go for the optional thing that I was talking about earlier. So, we got 2 hammers left. We're going to be looking at Shadow because, as you see, Gimli, we already improved him as much as we could, and that was just an extra refine on his helmet. On Gandalf, same thing, a refine on the helmet, refine on the accessory. On Frodo, we got him the Elf Hawbuck, which gives him an extra 14 unit defense from the armor, and then he's getting a plus 10 for the set. and it's also setting him up for future. So now that we've also got the shadow where we've gotten him a better weapon and armor, so now I want to try to see if I can get a matching set. So you look inside, and as you see, I have a fortitude and an evasion blazing tongue. And then we're going to go in here. First off, I'm going to look through his extra gear, and he doesn't have one with either of those set effects. So we're going to go into materials, and it's going to show me everything that he has. And as you see, he has evasive in there. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to hammer it out, that and the blazing tongue. And again, I'm only doing hammering purple gear because it's seasonal hammers. Where'd they go? There they are. Let me just double check and look inside to make sure this is the right one. It is. And then we are doing the blazing tongue. Come on. There we go. I don't know why my clicking's not working right now. So let's go back into Shadow and build him his evasive blazing tongue and his evasive scale mail. Let's go for the blazing tongue first. And like I said, refining, I will always do the refining before the strengthening. Not so much on armor, because hit points aren't as important as the other ones. Don't get me wrong, they are important, just not as important. But we already know he had a full set, so we are going to make it as a full set. Okay, we got Sharp Blade already. Okay, I don't need an extra evasive, evasive, evasive. Now let's go back to strengthening. Always use up the worn out equipment. And I'm also going to show you something that I have already talked to him about doing. As he gets more hammers, seasonal hammers throughout the remainder of his season, which I think he has 3 or 4 weeks left. I'm going to go down to the quilted armor because I believe those are the worst armor. Oh. Okay, and he's got one quilted goblin armor already. So, okay, I'm going to go back up here to the scale mails because he's got a few of those. He's got the Scout's mail. I'm going to do the doubles of those. There we go. Now we are going to go to strengthening the blazing tongue. I can't remember if it was 2 stars or 3 stars. I'm going to put the gigantic hammers in here. going to put the 3 reaches in here so that they are together because they could possibly be used later. And let's see. Yeah. I'm going to explain something before I do it though. So the best on slot item for him for gold is the Reckoning. But he does not have any more, so that's why we are not using it. We would be able to get more unit defense than the Cutlass, but we also have a bad set effect for him. So you kind of have to weigh out the positives and the negatives. So we are going to go for it and put the rest of this in here. A Lang is another good choice for Frodo. Oh, I need to take off the gigantic hammer off of Elrond because we put the other 2 in there already. Down there, and there. Okay. So that was the optional thing. Now, as I said earlier about setting up for the future, I'm going to show you something that I made to his attention. If we look in all of his gears, he has this gold skin armor. He's got one in every armor. So, one thing that I had suggested to him is, as he gets hammers throughout the season, to hammer these things out and pull out those golden armors. And then he will be able to replace them with the Berserker's raiment and the items that are in there, which this also has one. So, and that's actually one thing I'm going to do now for him. Is I'm going to take this and I am going to refine that, I think. No, because he's going to get worn out and we want that. So he's got the Berserker's raiment. He needs to hammer to get that golden skin out. The gold plate of the east, the high elf harbok, and the Berserker's raiment. So he's going to have 4 of the golden skins, which 1 you put down and then you have 2 refines. So he actually only needs to do 3 the rest of the season. So pick 3 of them, 1 each week, break it down, rebuild it. Okay, I would start with this one just so that you have the loose items. Now, Frodo, Gandalf, the White, Gimli, and Shadow are his main. Okay, so for a second army, Frodo can share his gear with anybody you're going to use as a tank. Boromir, Eowyn, Falcon, Undying. Some people use Sauron as a tank. So that way he can always swap. Gandalf the White. Okay, this one is a little bit more tricky. He could just take all of this gear and put it on Galadriel or Saruman. Okay, and that is a good fighting gear set for a focus dealer. Now, if he's going to use Gandalf the Grey, he could do something like use the Call, use the Great Plate of the East, use Sauron's Nordor sword, which is okay that we don't have the refinements for it because it's for the B team. Okay, Shadow's gear could be used by anybody. Same thing with Gimli. Lurt, Aragorn, Legolas, and Aramor, any of the focus damage dealers. So now we're going to go through and look at what the changes actually were made. And I made this little channel just so that I could share, and it would be easier to go back and forth and look at what the changes were. And shadow. So let's look at Gandalf the White. Okay, as you can see, we have everything here has 2 refines on it. We have 4 stars, 2 stars, 4 and 4. Now this was the gear that was on Galadriel. As you can see, the stars are the same, but we gained 2 refines. One for damage, one for command. This is how his Gandalf the White was looking. So as you can already see, that is a big difference. So even just from the Galadriel, extra refines help. Okay, let's go to Frodo. Here's what Frodo looks like now, and I'm going to grab a piece of paper and a pen because I want to write some numbers down. So we're going to figure things out as I'm going. So the new gear, Frodo has 314 command. Let's check his unit defense, and I'm not going to take gear side effects into account. He's got 15, 18, that's 33, that's 65, that's 83 unit defense on the new gear. And again, we're not going to take into account the side effects. Let's go to the old Frodo. The old Frodo had 314 command, so it's the same. Here we have 15, 33, 51, and 69. 69 unit defense. So on Frodo, he gained 14 unit defense, not including the side effects. And once he gets the new enough gold gear to strengthen this, he's going to have even more unit defense. Okay, so now we're going to go to Gimli. As I said before, the only thing we changed was he gained an extra star. See, he gained an extra star there. Eventually we'll gain an extra refine on the Cask of Pride, and eventually he's going to get an extra refine on the Berserker's raiment. So it's really not that much. It is hit points that he's gaining. Now we are going to go to Shadow. And as I said before, he wasn't sure exactly what to put on him. So, I could write these skills down for, let's see, 117 commander attack, 55 focus, 31 to 37 damage. Now with the new Shadow. He has 142 command. He's got 54 focus, so he lost 1 focus. And he's got 27 to 47. So he gained 10 damage on the high end, and he also gained 25 commander attack. We're also setting him up for future with eventually putting the gold skin in where the scale mail is. So again, it was quite a bit of moving things around for just a little bit of improvement. But the important part is improving a little bit. So I hope this made sense why I put gear on certain things and how I built everybody. I'm not going to be talking about the skills because those come in my commander videos. You can ask people in your team for the skill points. But again, that's what we could do. slight improvement. Everybody got something that improved them. So I call it a win, and I hope Iron is very happy with the changes that I've made and the things that I have set up for him to do come the future with his elven hammers. So that's it for me today. As always, make the most out of what you got.